Hi, and welcome to Classic Advice. My name is Scarlett Classic. I am your host. This is my podcast all about my advice that I'd like to share with you. I also have co hosts on, and they bring their own unique experience and expertise to the show, which is awesome. So I'm so happy that you decided to join, and let's dive right into the episode. Today, I thought we would talk about marriage because I haven't really touched on that yet, and I promised in my trailer that I would. So here it is. So, a little bit about me is I got married quite young at 20, and our marriage lasted 5 years, and then we got divorced. And then I was single for a good 2 years. And then I was getting lonely. I wanted to share my life with somebody, and I was ready to move on with my life. So I started dating. I dated a few guys before I met Roy, who is my amazing husband now. And we have been together for 8 years now. Wow. It's gone by so fast. And it has been wonderful and beautiful and yes, challenging and all that stuff. So and in this day and age, I was actually looking it up as I was doing my research for this episode that relationships really don't last that long anymore. And I'm not really sure if it's because marriage isn't there's not as much of a stigma to divorce now, that when people get divorced, there isn't as much judgment, I guess, around the fact. And women's rights have also changed that a lot as well, because I'm a big fan of Murdoch Mysteries. It's a Canadian show that is based in, oh goodness, late 1800s, early 1900s, I believe. And in the show, there's a girl that gets married, and she can't get divorced because her husband won't let her, because as a woman she wasn't allowed to file for divorce. So times have changed drastically as well. I am quite aware of that. A lot of people aren't getting married as well. Like me and Roy aren't technically quote unquote married, but for all intents and purposes we are married, we are together. So but when I was just Googling this, it's like 6 months to 2 years. And then people split up. And then they go on to the new relationship, or they're single for a while, or they're just single forever. So when I was looking up the stages of marriage, there's the honeymoon phase is the first one, then power struggle, then the stability stage, and then deep attachment. Now, I believe we're in deep attachment. He just agreed with me. um, and, but I think people are going through this honeymoon phase. Now, this is just my 2 cents, but then when they get to the power struggle, they're giving up. But if you can push through the hard years and learn how to fight properly, and get to this deep attachment that me and my husband are at, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful where we are right now. So a little bit definition of, so the honeymoon phase is it's carefree, it's happy. And Google said that this lasts between 6 months and 2 years. So that's where I kind of got my thoughts about people dropping off once they get to the power struggle. So after you get through that honeymoon phase and you're starting to enter the power struggle, according to Google, it's when you're both being more authentically yourself, you're speaking maybe your mind more, you're learning each other's faults and that they're not all perfect. And nobody is perfect. We all have our faults. And the rose colored glasses come off. And then the The next one is the stability stage, which according to Google is accepts one another as an individual and you learn mutual respect. And when I read that, I was like, oh, respect is so huge, you guys. If you don't respect your partner, I don't know what you're going to do. If you can't find, yeah, I think that's just so huge. Respecting each other. It changes the way that you talk to each other. And it changes your whole dynamic if you just have respect for the other person. So that's really huge, respect. And then the next stage, deep attachment. It's where the two of you, again, according to Google, it's where the two of you have gotten past an array of relationships obstacles. And you now have that, quote unquote, deep attachment. So yeah, me and Roy have gone through amazing times together, and we have gone through hard times together. There have been times when I maybe do something that he doesn't like, or we discover something about my past or his past, or well, I don't know, what have you, that now we're dealing with this thing that we have to overcome. And how do you get past that? So learning to fight, I think, is really, really big. And learning to do it right. So when I say learning how to do it right, I mean you're fighting because you're trying to reach a solution. You're not fighting the other person. You're fighting the problem. And when you switch your focus, instead of attacking the other person, but the problem, that'll really help you out. And I know for me that there's times when we first got together, I would just be like, I need to walk away, I need a break. And it was really, really hard for Roy because when I went through marriage counseling, we were learning about there's two different types of fighters. There's the battleship and there's the submarine. So the submarine person will want to run away, and the battleship will just keep following them and shooting torpedoes at them through the water. So I was the submarine, and I was like, I need a break, I don't like this. And Roy would be chasing me like, no, we need to fix this now. And then we got to the point where he understood the fact that, no, giving me this time is really helpful. And it also helps calm your emotions down. So when we get too heated, and yeah, we still have arguments now, it's still going to happen, but we fight a little bit differently, I feel, now than when we did at the very beginning of our relationship, or at the very beginning, at least, of that power struggle stage. And giving yourself time to calm down and just stop. And it's hard, and you know, we still struggle with this. Sometimes I maybe take it too far, he takes it too far, and then I was like, oh man, now I said something that, you know, really wasn't very nice, and I didn't mean it, and now I feel really bad. And then you're guilt tripping yourself for being silly because you were just too hot-headed in the moment. But if you say, no, let's take a break and just walk away from each other, and then your emotions will calm down, and then 9 times out of 10, I will come to him and be like, I'm really sorry. I was being really ridiculous, and I said this and that, and I'm really sorry, and this is why I was feeling this way. This is why I said this or that, you know, maybe doesn't make it right, but this is why I was doing this. And then it's in that tone that I just spoken now. And then he'll do the same thing, be like, yeah, like I said this or I did that. And this is why I did that because you were being like this. Or, playing off of each other. You both start raising your voice. You both start throwing bombs and then it just gets crazy. But take a break, walk away. Your emotions will calm down. Huge. That was huge for us. Because then instead of attacking each other, we were then looking at the problem. The thing that we were trying to get over. Or the thing that we were trying to, it can be whatever, right? Enjoying hobbies together, I think, is really big. So me and Roy actually met online. And so you have your little profile or whatever. And I was very adamant when guys would message me or what have you, that'd be like, hey, like, these are my hobbies. And I would look at their profile and see if they enjoyed any of the same things that I did. So for me and Roy, we both really like camping. We both really like hiking, just being outside and outdoorsy. So we both had that common ground. Yes, there's things that I really like. I'm an avid reader. I love reading. Now that's kind of something you do by yourself. And he's dyslexic, so he hates reading. And then he really likes working on vehicles. And I don't even like, I didn't know anything about doing work on vehicles. I just took mine to a mechanic. But when he works on vehicles, as long as I have the time and I don't have, some other pressing thing that I need to take care of, then I go help him. It wasn't, 2 weeks ago that we were working on the V10 and I helped him change the valve cover gaskets, which I had helped him do on his Jeep, but the Jeep engine and a V10 engine is completely different. And it's, if I wasn't with Roy, would I be into fixing vehicles? Probably not. But I do it because it means that we can spend some time together and enjoy the day together doing something that he likes. He really likes watching movies. I'm not a big movie person. I've mentioned this before in episodes that I find it hard to sit still and do that. But I found other ways that I can still do that with him and have a good time. Like I'll knit and watch movies with him, or I'll take out one of my Lego sets and do that as I'm watching the movie, and I'm just learning to sit still and enjoy the movies. But it's something that we do together. And if maybe it's just our relationship and what works for us, but I found that I think that's really key. When you can, and now I'm not saying that you can't have your own individual hobbies. Like I've recently taken up podcasting. He is not a podcaster. And it's something that I go off and I do myself. And then he'll have other things that he does and does himself. And then when we come together, it's time. I guess what I'm trying to say is that having your own hobbies is not a bad thing. But you also need to find that mutual ground of that's something that you like to do together, is what I'm trying to get across. And next is something that I've actually already touched on, is respecting each other is really, really big. So I'm not really going to talk too much more about that, but I do believe that that's really key, having that mutual respect. And when you are angry or mad at your partner, remind yourself of all the things that you love about them. Because that list should way outweigh the list of the things that you maybe are frustrated with them at the moment, at that particular moment in time. I have huge respect for Roy as a person. He is so smart. He's way smarter than I am. The way that his mind works, the way that he can just look at a problem and go, oh, this is how we're going to fix it. And it would have taken me weeks to figure that out. You know? So having that respect for your partner and that unconditional love, because when you hit that power struggle stage and those rose colored glasses come off and you start finding out all of these things that maybe you don't like about the person, well, then it's time to look in the mirror. Because nobody is perfect. Nobody. Do I have flaws? 100%. I have a terrible memory. And it drives Roy nuts. Just this week, I was under the sink getting another little spongy thing to wash dishes with, and the wrapping, that like the plastic wrap that it was in, was wet, and I was like, oh my goodness. And he was really tired trying to go to sleep, and I was like, hun, there's water under the kitchen sink, I need you to come look at it. And he was, kind of annoyed because, well, one, oh, now I gotta fix the kitchen sink, but two, he was like almost asleep, and he comes out and he was like, Scarlett, it leaks. That's why the little pot is under there. I've told you this like 20 times. So, yeah, look in the mirror, because there's things about you that annoy your partner. It's unconditional love that works, that goes in both directions, and loving each other and accepting each other for who they are, and remembering those little things or those big things that you love about your partner. Roy has an incredibly big heart. He's always helping other people, visiting other people when they need a helping hand with their truck or they don't know how to fix something. He's always like, oh yeah, here, I have this tool. You can borrow it, or you can come over and I'll show you how to use it. He has a huge heart. And forgiveness. Forgiving yourself when you get in those fights and overreact and say things that you didn't mean to say, and now you can't take them back. That's big. That's not so easy sometimes. I kind of touched on this one last week with mindset. Sometimes our brains, we're the hardest on ourselves than the other people around us. And forgiving your partner. Things come up, those from the past or now, or they're just those rose-colored glasses that have come off, and now you see some parts of your spouse or your significant other or your partner that you're like, oh, I really don't like that. But forgiving them when they make mistakes, because nobody is perfect. Like, come on. When's the last time you made a mistake? When's the last time you weren't perfect? And that'll help put in perspective the fact that, oh, yeah, forgiving the other person and being like, no, I choose you. At the end of the day, every morning, in the afternoon, at night, I choose you. I choose to be with Roy. I choose to forgive him. I choose to forgive myself. Because I want this. I don't want anybody else. I only want him. And trust. I'm a big believer that if you don't have trust in a relationship, it's really hard. It's really hard. And there might be times when trust is broken. Then what do? In my experience, it takes time. It takes time and forgiveness and unconditional love and respect and all the other things I just talked about. Because we're going to mess up, and maybe that trust is broken. Well, a big part is, it depends on who broke the trust, but are they willing to make up for it? Something that was my counselor told me when I was going through a divorce. Actually, I think it was my lawyer. My lawyer told me that a divorce takes one and a marriage takes two. But if your partner is willing to work for the relationship, if your partner is willing to work for that trust back, if you're willing to work for that trust back, then you need to be mindful that it's going to take time and hard work. And choosing the person every morning because you want the person, because you love the person. So that's really all I have for this week, for this episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, that you gained some insight. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you for listening all the way to the very end. Aw, you're the best. My website is ClassicChronicles.ca. If you want to head on over there, I have my co-hosts all listed there. If you click on their photos, it'll take you directly to their website. Go say hi to them. They would love to hear from you. Podcasters love hearing from their listeners. So go say hi. Don't be shy. And if you want to as well, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link on there, which all the proceeds I use to just pour right back into my podcast. It does cost me just a little bit to have this podcast going, and I would love to be able to support it instead of taking it out of my own pocket and maybe, take the kids for an ice cream because they don't like coffee. I love coffee though. So, all right, you guys take care and we'll see you next week. Bye.